everyone, this is Alissa Coram here reporting to you live from the Las Vegas Convention Center for CES 2017. And here with me I have Piper Jaffray Senior Analyst Mike Olson. We're going to break down some of the top takeaways from day one. All right, Mike, so what are kind of the top trends that you've seen from today?
Well, you know, there's thinner TVs and there's more drones, as there are every year, but a couple of things that we noticed today in particular were, if you look at virtual reality and augmented reality, we're seeing about twice as much floor space being dedicated to those themes. We're also seeing, you know, a lot of companies that aren't here in particular making a big impact. Amazon would be one of those. You know, Apple is always kind of an overarching theme. They're not here, but everyone's talking about them. But, you know, I think Amazon, with what they're doing with Alexa and licensing that out, is a big theme that is important to a lot of different companies that are here today.
Although they do have a new competitor with this NVIDIA Spot that was unveiled last night. You can plug it into a wall, kind of the ambient voice on-demand service. So what do you think about that as a new competitor for the Echo?
Well, I think it's definitely a space that's going to have a lot of competition because there's a lot of interest in it. It's clearly going to be a growing space. I mean, we're in the first inning of this, and it's going to be something that plays out over the next decade. And I think if you look at what Amazon's doing that's different, in particular this licensing of the Alexa offering to all these different CE manufacturers. I mean, in addition to the announcement you mentioned, there was Lenovo making their own Echo-like device. We saw LG doing a robot and a TV or a refrigerator that also have Alexa built in. And I think their strategy is to just make this as wide as possible. It's a little bit different than Apple's strategy, where you have their OS that's particularly specific to their hardware devices. Amazon's going to have Alexa everywhere, and I think that's the right strategy.
All right, and you also mentioned Apple not being here. They're talked about regardless of whether they're here or not, but do you think they're making a mistake this time around by not being here with VR's floor space expanding, with all of this autonomous car talk?
Well, I think Apple makes their own waves. They'll have their own events to talk about a lot of these various topics. And I think in general, Apple doesn't want to pre-release any indications of where they're going, you know, before they have a product up and ready to go. So I think that's why they don't come to shows like this. They don't want to allude to what they might be working on. They kind of got all these skunk work projects in the back rooms, and eventually we'll see what they're doing. It'll be on their own terms at their own events.
That definitely makes sense, because a lot of what are at these booths are prototypes, so it's not stuff that's actually in production or out there for consumers to actually buy right now.
Yeah, that's right. Over in VR and augmented reality section over there, we saw tons of products that were like Kickstarter products, like they weren't even available yet. You could put down $100 and you might get one if they ever bring it to production. So I think you're right, and that's one of the reasons why, you know, we don't see Apple here, because they just don't want to provide any indication of where they're going.
So of the companies that you cover, which one is impressing you the most here at CES?
Well, you know, video is a big theme. We're seeing a lot of the service providers like Comcast kind of increase and improve what they're doing with their operating systems and the technology that they have with Xfinity and their X1 operating system. And one of the companies that I cover, Universal Electronics, does a great job of building the remote for Comcast that allows you to speak to the remote. It allows you to search better for content. So we're gonna see that company in particular moving to more service providers, providing a next-gen remote control experience. The other one would be kind of a blast from the past here, but TiVo. So TiVo is combined with a company, Rovi, that previously was a standalone public company, and they've created a great next-gen interface for television. So as some of these service providers improve the operating system that they're working with, like the Comcast X1 that I mentioned, we're going to see other smaller service providers that don't have the in-house resources to build their own interface using a service like TiVo or Rovi's old guide. So I think that's another one that's going to impress as we see more and more innovation in video.
Right, you've named video streaming as kind of one of the trends to watch for the year. Could you talk a little bit more broadly about why that is?
Well, you know, a lot of things are happening on the video front as it relates to the devices themselves. Like I joked earlier, flatter TVs. Every year it gets flatter and bigger and clearer. But I think a lot's happening with the interface, as I just mentioned. And I think that is, you know, ultimately driving a situation where we could see different categories of video content starting to come together in a way that makes sense for a consumer experience. And what I mean by that is content has really been the barrier to date. If we have an experience that brings together a cloud-based DVR, it brings together a better user interface, it brings together on-demand library like what we see with Netflix, plus live broadcast, and that's what we've been missing to date.
Right.
That's where we're going to get an adoptable solution by the general consuming public, and that's what we think can happen in 2017. We're seeing services like Hulu Live get some of the CBS content.
Exactly.
We think more of that's going to happen, and ultimately you get the combination you need for more online video demand.
All right, well, that wraps it up for day one. Thanks so much, Mike. We will see you tomorrow for day two. We'll be coming to you from the Sands Expo.